be successful by yourself, but you can achieve so much more if you collaborate, have your team, make sure your team's successful, reach out to others and enable others' success. This is going to make you that much better. There's not one mission I went on in Special Forces that went the way it was supposed to do. So you can't go into your turtle shell when you show up and everything starts going the wrong way. You plan so that you're ready when it does go the wrong way. You already expect that, so you can adapt. So going into business, sometimes you gotta slow down now so you can speed up later. To get to that, you have to be very driven. You have to be determined, be able to accept failure, learn from your failure, and move forward.
Welcome to Mentors Collective. I have business leaders on from all walks of life and industries, and today I am blessed to have a guest that comes from a very unique background. I can't wait to talk to you about this because it's so goddamn cool. He was a Green Beret in the military, one of the elite divisions. And he's taken a lot of those skills that he learned in the military, and now he's translating them into business and helping businesses benefit from a lot of the same tactics and strategies that you guys use at the most elite level in the military. So, Eric Brown, thank you for joining me today. Excited to dive in with you.
Hey, I really appreciate being here. Thank you for having me. Excited to talk to you today.
So for those that don't know, what is a Green Beret? It's actually not something I learned about until a little bit later on. Everyone knows the Navy SEALs, but what is a Green Beret?
That's fine. It always goes like that. Everyone knows what a Navy SEAL is. They're a lot better at PR, the Green Berets, but that goes with our moniker of the quiet professionals.
Yeah.
So Green Beret is a specially selected from the United States Army to go forth and go through a selection process, go through a rigorous 1-year school to learn whatever job they're going to do. And then they're put on a 12-person operational attachment alpha, ODA as it's called, and then travel to other countries to conduct unconventional warfare.
Unconventional warfare.
Sort of scary. Yeah, we travel all the time with the State Department if you ever say that. But our charter is if, say, a country that's a dictator in charge is running amok and, it's in the U.S. interest to help that country take their country back over, they'll send a 12-person team, a special forces team, to help train the resistance and take the country back over by, with, and through the people.
What's the biggest difference, you think, between the Navy SEALs and Green Beret? Obviously, that's the Navy, this is the Army, but why would the government or the military choose to send you guys as opposed to them and vice versa?
Well, for jokingly, if they want to send to break something, they'll send the Navy SEAL. If they want to send to fix something, they'll send the Green Berets.
So they're wrecking balls and you guys are builders,
It's
fixers?
just their specialty, right? So
Yeah.
you have Army, Navy, Air Force, and everyone has their version of special operations, right?
Right.
That's one thing that people get. If you watch the news, they'll say Special Forces did that, and they're talking about Navy SEAls. Navy SEAls are actually part of Special Operations. The Green Berets are actually, by name, the only Special Forces. There's actually a difference. But who wouldn't and what they would pick the government to send if it's something water, quick, direct action, go in, save a hostage or something like that, Navy SEALs. You want to go in and set up a long-term presence and work by, with, and through the people to make an impact and, strategic presence in the country, Green Berets.
And then you mentioned that every division has their own special forces, special operations. What is the Air Force and what is the Marines?
So the Air Force, they're close to the special operations, would be their pararescue or their PJs, or specialize in rescuing people or plane crashes. We get in trouble, stuff like that, they can rescue them. And for the Marines, it would be the Marine Raiders, the newest, less than a decade old.
Oh, cool.
Replicated after a special force. So we actually help them build up their special operations forces.
I was going to say, you talked about PR. Obviously, the Navy SEALs doing a good job. People are like, that training looks like hell. Everybody knows what they are. Why do you think the Green Berets are a little bit more under the radar? I know who they are. I don't even know who the Marines and Air Force divisions are, so they need some serious help with their PR. Why do you think Green Berets are a little more low-key?
I think it comes from just our training of
Yeah.
being taught to, let your actions speak, right, louder than your voice. You got to do good things. There's no need to take credit for it.
Yeah.
Because we're trained to work by, with, and through others. So those other success is our success. And we try to stay below the radar. If you imagine, if you are going to a country that you're not supposed to be there and you're training a force that's not supposed to exist,
Almost like a spy.
right? You wouldn't, we're not spies.
But not spies.
That's where it would come from.
Yeah.
We do have a jug, though, if you want to, spar a little bit between Green Berets and SEALs. We have Rambo, and they have, Rambo's Sylvester Stallone. and they have Demi Moore.
What does that mean? Rambo's a Green
Who
Beret?
do you think is cooler? I don't know. In my opinion, yeah, Rambo is a Green Beret. Demi Moore is a Navy SEAL.
Cool.
But they do have Charlie Sheen, so I mean, Charlie Sheen also
Right.
played in Navy SEAL, so that was.
You see a lot of speakers on stage that are ex-Navy SEALs. Goggins, maybe he was one of them. Then there's another really famous G.I. Joe looking white dude that I saw recently at a Jocko Willing. Yeah.
Yep.
He's a
Solid.
badass.
Yeah, they're solid folks.
Wonder why there's
I don't know.
for that same reason.
We
got to get you on stage.
They're tall. They're very good at that. They're very good at us. That's how it is.
Is the training?
We're changing the there's more special forces folks coming out and talking. Our training is longer than their training, but there's different, right? We have a selection, like, you see theirs, their Hell Week and whatnot, where they're getting crushed on the beach.
Right.
Ours, we get crushed in Camp McCall, North Carolina, out in a very rural area in North Carolina.
What kind of stuff do they do to you? Or do you have to go?
Their selection. Ours is where SEALs, from what my knowledge, right? I'm a little bit ignorant to their training because I'm not a Navy SEAL. But ours is more, selection is individual based on how well you can accomplish a task by yourself. So they have ones where, they'll give you a 60-pound rucksack till you start, walking through the woods. You don't know when you're going to stop. You don't know where the end is.
But a psychological torment.
They have a thing called the STAR course, where you start at midnight and you have to find, I think, 5 points that could be anywhere from 2 kilometers up to like 12 kilometers apart. So you walk all night trying to find small little chem lights in the woods. And if you find the wrong one, the only thing they tell you is, candidate, you've navigated to the wrong point. Please step back, check your map, get your orientation, and move out. So they'll give you any corrections. So it's all individual based until the last week, which is what they call team week, where they bring us all together and have you do. Number one I did was down pilot, where we were supposed to go helicopter crash. They had this ginormous concrete thing that was supposed to be a person. I don't know how much it weighed, 500 pounds. Then we had to build some kind of contraption, and then we carried it, I don't know, 6-8 miles. Then we missed the helicopter because we were too slow.
Oh man!
And then we turned around and walked back to where we came from.
So it's a lot of
people quit on that
right
on that turn.
Just a lot of mental torment that it seems like they challenge you guys with, as opposed to the Navy SEALs, which is a lot of like physical breaking points, which is a lot of overlap, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had the physical part is that you're walking every day with your rucksack on.
Yeah,
like, miles. I don't know. I can't tell you. I've never worked out at the schoolhouse to be able to tell you the actual mileage, but I just know it's a lot. At the time I went, which was quite a while ago, I think selection rate was 33%, so it was pretty low.
So 1 out of the 3 people that actually get to that training are selected for the Green Beret. So it's fairly competitive.
It is. What
was your role in the military? Obviously, you had a long career with them. What was that career like, and what was the pinnacle of that career?
It was the military, the Army, especially Special Forces, gave me the ability to do things I'd never gotten to do in my entire life. Throughout, I started off as a Special Forces weapons sergeant, messing with guns and whatnot. I got to go throughout, Colombia, throughout South America. I mean, how many 24-year-olds get to plop down in the middle of Colombia and train a force of like 200 Colombian police folks by themselves?
That's cool.
And then after you're done working, you're living in town with the folks, you're eating their food, learning their culture. I've never got to do that if not, right? And then as you move up the teams, it really came down to like the brotherhood of the teams of working at, imagine how small 12 people are.
Yeah.
And then quite a bit of deployments. I think I deployed over 12 times. There's times like when a pinnacle of the Afghan war where they'd be gone 9 months for deployment, over in Afghanistan, come back, then you got to do all that training that you missed for your career progression, and then you're back out the door again. On the pinnacle of my career, it's a really hard question. Quite things that I'm proud of, and I say at the end, one of the rewarding things is I had to go back essentially to where I started, back to a Special Forces battalion, and work as the senior morale officer of the battalion. So I got to coach, teach, mentor, a whole over 268 people. So that was really rewarding. So you get to you didn't get to go out and do all the cool missions anymore. So you live through their success.
And I guess a lot of that involved leadership skills, managing a team. For how many years were you in leadership in the Green Berets, and what was that like?
Well, you're always taught to be a leader in the military, especially special forces. You're going to take lead when it's your turn to be in charge. A lot of times on missions, even the highest ranking person might not be the person to lead that mission. If the technical skill is on someone that has that, they'll be in lead. Obviously, the person's in charge, but the person with the skill needed would be the one leading. But I would say when I became a warrant officer in 2007 is when I took a leadership role. So from 2007 to 2022.
That's interesting that they train everybody to be a leader. A lot of people will assume or learn that leadership is something that you're kind of born with in a way. And yeah, you can train some of the skills, but it's really in your blood. What are some of the ways that the Green Beret test people during selection on their leadership skills? Maybe they won't let you in if you don't have some of those traits or can't adapt to leadership. And then what are some of the ways that the Green Beret trains you to be a leader and nurtures those leadership qualities?
I would say the main thing selection looks at and what trains you is to see if you're trainable.
Mm.
Can you actually step back and follow instructions, take the lead of others? But when it's time for you to be in charge, you can step up and be in charge. And as you get on a team, where how we train that is obviously if you go over our school, you have different leadership schools within the Army that you go to. But on the SF team, if let's say you're going to the range to shoot for the day, 18 Bravo is in charge that day, right? He's the one telling us where to go, where to be. So we put them if there's a role that they're doing and it's their day to be in charge, we let them be in charge and we let them have unless they need guidance or course correction. Another way, one time in Afghanistan, we were doing quite a bit of missions, hitting different houses over and over every night. And one way we were trying to get our younger guys some leadership experience, as have them plan the mission.
Mm.
So like, hey, this is the target. You plan it and present it back to us. Obviously, team leader, team sergeant, and myself, the warrant would have the final say so. How
Got to review the plan first.
But however, we had them plan the mission. What did that do? When they planned it,
Yeah.
instead of it just coming from us, they took ownership in it. So it grew them as leaders. So when it was time for them to be in charge, it's not the first time they've done it.
Yeah. Leadership's one of those things that's also kind of difficult to measure. There's so many variables and different leadership styles. There's not like one right way to do it. What are some of the ways that you guys measured leadership traits, qualities, KPIs, whether a leader was successful or not? What are some of those measurements, metrics that people can think about when determining if that person's a good leader or am I a good leader?
I'd say how we measured it was on the performance of their team, right? Of how well, when they were given a mission to execute, did they execute the mission successfully? And then we also pay a lot of heed to atmosphere of the team. Are they a toxic leader? Does the people on their team hate going to work every day and they're just there? You could see a lot of times a successful leader, you could tell because those under them were their biggest cheerleaders. They were the ones promoting that leader. We used to say, hey, step back, we'll make you famous. And those are able to be in charge, but also be able to receive feedback and listen to those that they were in charge of, did the best, right? You lead from the front, lead by example, let the people that you're in charge of do what they're supposed to do. Don't micromanage them, let them do it. And that's how I would see you be successful.
Is that kind of the leadership quality that you believe in or you would teach in one of your leadership seminars is you want to try and be liked? Because there's a lot of successful leaders that aren't well liked. And it seems like that's pretty big.
Yeah. Well, you have to be, when I said that, it's not like, obviously we want them to like you, but they don't have to like you. They have to, respect you and know that as long as you're doing right, lead by example, doing all the right things, they're gonna follow you, right? Because they were like, hey, he's doing it. He's the guy I want to be behind, or the woman I want to be behind, who's leading the charge. So I would say it comes down to what we used to always tell folks: if show me, don't tell me, right? So don't tell me what you did before, or how awesome you are. Show me today how well you can execute today and how you're gonna take us forward.
For someone who's trying to get better at leadership, as my company's grown, this has been an ongoing search for me. I never really considered myself much of a business leader. If it's up to me, I'll sit there and build all day and not talk to anyone. I just love building stuff. I sought out some courses. I talked to some leadership mentors of mine, and it's something I've been actively working on. And I know a lot of the listeners probably feel the same. What are some things that, we can do to evaluate our own leadership skills, qualities, styles, and then improve on them?
First you get your like technical thing. I would say you could look at right. Take the time to do a personality inventory, like the Neo, looking at your traits and how those interact, and so you can better understand yourself. One big thing to always make yourself, in my opinion, a better leader is to seek out a mentor. Know that you already took the first step, right? You know that you can improve.
Yeah.
All right. So that's one step to being a better leader. Know that you don't have all the answers and to seek out improvement. So keep training, keep learning new things, seek out mentorship from others, but also be open to listening to those that you work with. The big thing comes down to me is communication.
Right.
You want to be the person as leader where they feel comfortable enough where they are going to bring you the problem, right? You don't want to be the person that are like apprehensive. Oh, what's going to happen if I take him a problem? You want to set the environment where, oh yeah, okay, let's figure this out, and they'll bring it to you. So, and how do you figure out and be that person is learn how you are and how you present yourself to others, and just try to be the best you that you can be.
And the leadership coach for me was big. I haven't talked to him in a while, but just asking that question, like, am I a good leader? How do I tell? What kind of feedback do I ask from my team? And then what are some things that I could potentially do differently? I feel like as you get higher up the chain and there are so many different leadership styles, that becomes more important and harder to find good answers on. Who's a leader that you like to emulate, whether it be in business or military that other people might know?
I don't. Some people. Let's start with in special forces. Biggest mentors and leaders that I still look up to today is Aaron Bush.
Mm,
When I was a very young warrant officer, I was the first team I was on was with him. He was the team leader. He's the biggest influence on the show me, don't tell me, lead by example, and truly care for those that you're in charge of. Like
right.
you take care of the boys, and the boys will take care of you. We've worked together since 2008 till still today. Switching over into business as I was transitioning, I went through a program called the Honor Foundation, where I was paired with a business mentor, Guy Hart, who's the CEO of Plus Delta Partners, who really gave me the insight of how do I transition my military mindset into the civilian and have that translate into something that's value added
Right.
to others. I think I'm drawn to him as well because he really looks to take care of his team that he's in charge of with his company. And we come down to talking about having a double bottom line. That double bottom line, right? Everyone's a capitalist. Everyone has to make money to take care of their family, whatever their needs are.
Right.
Right. So that's up here. Underneath that, you have to have something good that you're giving back. Right. So with Imperio, I try to give back where we're still trying to go out and help others overcome their challenges to help them enable their success. Also, we're formulating long-lasting relationships. We're bringing in the Green Beret operator, pairing them with the executive. Hopefully, with that, a bond is made that'll carry forth after the engagement's over. The same way that Guy and I, ever since the Honor Foundation to now, he's still a big part and still a mentor to me.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, especially you want a mentor that's like you, but has done obviously
More than you.
done more than you. Sometimes finding the wrong mentor, not because they're not more successful than you, but it's not your person, it's not your people. So, veterans specifically, one question that I had for you was coming out of an elite agency like Green Berets or Navy SEALs, do you think the success rate coming out of those agencies, those really high performing military branches, is higher than, for example, people who aren't in those elites, maybe the Marines or the Army, like general combat forces? Do you see a higher level of success in business from those elite forces? And if so, like, what do you think you attribute that to?
I would have to like look at the numbers and see who performs better. I think
Yeah.
it comes down to the person and their drive of how successful they're going to be. But I would say the level, in special forces or Green Berets, or I think we're the top 1% of
Right.
the Army, or maybe more. So yeah, to get to that, you have to be very driven. You have to be determined, be able to accept failure, learn from your failure, and move forward. And I think that translates directly into the private sector. I think that's why a lot of Green Berets are entrepreneurs and go into business is
Yeah.
because the traits I think would make you, the drive, seeking out success, trying to help others, trying to build something translates directly into business, and that's build success.
Yeah. Personal story. I come from a medical background. Always wanted to be a doctor. Went all the way through medical school. Achieved that goal. Did a year of training. Decided it wasn't for me. But I still attribute a lot of my success now to like the focus and discipline I had to do to get there. And if you were to ask me like what percentage of doctors who aren't practicing medicine and try business are successful, it's probably close to 100%, just because they've already weeded out all of the people that don't have the focus and discipline. So I probably assumed the same thing of Green Berets, Navy SEALs. Like if I were hiring and there was an option to hire someone out of the Green Berets or Navy SEAls, it's probably a safe bet.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Hire more Green Berets and Navy SEALs. I agree 100%.
Hire more of them. Are there a lot of them for hire, or is it
No, there's
mostly
quite a bit of people
doing nowadays?
always transitioning. There's some great foundations that help, link veterans up, special operation veterans up with private sector. Honor Foundation, to give them a shout out, is one. 51 Vets is another one that really pushes those relationships to drive success.
And I could reach out to one of those agencies and say, we want Green Berets.
Yep.
And they'll line us up interviews with Green Berets.
Yes, you could.
That could be
I'll call them.
That could be a secret tactic that not a lot of business owners take advantage of. Like, where can I pick the people who are clearly disciplined and proven it, who might need a new opportunity? It's like ex-NFL players. Like, they're typically really successful in what they do.
Yeah, it comes to that drive. Like when I was training to go to the special forces, I was only 21 years old.
Yeah.
And then, normally what do you do on Saturday when you're 21? It's not training.
Yeah.
But I knew my earlier job in the military, I didn't have to carry what we call a rucksack, or for civilians, a backpack, very much at all. So I knew that was a weak point for mine. So Saturdays and every other time I could train, I was out there, walking down the road. That same like drive and just knowing what you need to do and get it done, I think 100% translates.
So leadership's obviously super important in business. I could argue like problem solving and discipline are more important. Talk to me about what you teach or what you learned in the Green Berets that can cultivate some of those other really important components of success: discipline, focus, problem solving, all those things that you need to do in order to be successful.
One big thing, people ask, like, hey, if Green Berets always get these difficult or complex missions, how do you train for that?
Yeah.
One thing we used to always tell people, hey, we make sure we're really good at the simple stuff, right? So we do practice all the simple. We go practice shooting, we go practice all the basic skills.
Yeah.
So when it comes time to do something complex, that's secondhand. We're not, you're not struggling on something you should already know how to do. You can focus on the difficult task.
It's kind of like business, right? Like a complicated like offer build out requires some design, some copywriting, some basic knowledge of psychology and tools. But if you're practiced at all those tools and different things, then putting together the whole package is actually kind of easy.
Yes, exactly. So practice of that. So we came down to what I think I've shared with you before. We bring it down to simplicity, where I was talking about being good at the simple things, being able to break down complex problems to their smallest parts to attack them. The other thing is adaptability. There's not one mission I went on in Special Forces that went the way it was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't go into your turtle shell when you show up and everything starts going the wrong way.
Yeah.
You plan so that you're ready when it does go the wrong way. You already expect that, so you can adapt. Preach a lot of, I never want to hear this is how we've always done it, right? Because times change, processes change. Doesn't mean you have to throw everything out the window,
right?
But you still have to adapt to the new ways of doing things and be accepting. And the last thing we push a lot in Special Forces and now with the company is collaboration. You can always achieve more by working with others. You can be successful by yourself, but you can achieve so much more if you collaborate, have your team, make sure your team's successful, reach out to others and enable others' success. This is going to make you that much better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. How long since you've been out have you been in the consulting space, and what have you learned in terms of like looking at these business owners compared to looking at these like military lifers? Is there a lot of overlap, and like what can one learn from the other?
There's overlap. One thing I think people forget, just because of all the movies, like you're saying, they're always showing the shooting, jumping out, playing all the so-called fun stuff.
It's not really like that.
It is sometimes, but people forget that we we run the organization, right? So in the Army and Special Forces, you have the teams that are out there, shoot, move, and communicating. But to do that, somebody has to bring the bullets to them. Somebody has to bring the trucks, you know, all those logistics,
Right.
all the communications, all the information, all that's moving inside. So learning how to navigate that as you move up the ranks translates directly into as you're running your business of running your different administrative section. You get your marketing department, you got your IT department, you have operations, all those things that you're trying to make work together. Is the same way in Special Forces, we had to make all our pieces work together. So it translates, and a lot of bureaucracy that you hit now in the private sector, you can't do this because the lawyer said or that. We found the same challenges within Special Forces. So it became really adaptable, and that's where we bring our experience in of like, okay, we adapted to it like this, and this is what we took, and then try to pull out from the person in the private sector of how they're doing it, and we come up with a solution for them.
So it's a funny quote from Alex Ramosi. I was at a workshop recently of his in Las Vegas. He's like, it was a response to somebody who's like, I don't really love my business. Been doing it for a couple years. We're making some money, but like, I want to do something that I love. He drew this org chart on the board. It's like CEO, CMO, COO, like CIO, CFO. He's like, if you're successful in business, if you make it to the top, no matter what your industry, it looks just like this. And your job is pretty much exactly the same, with the same people under you reporting to you. And that's if you win. You're the CEO on top with the people reporting to you. And you don't talk to customers. You don't worry about the product for the most part. So it sounds like it's a similar thing in the military. You've got the hierarchy. You've got operations, the same thing that a normal business kind of runs.
Yeah, we tell people all the time, the best time you have in Special Forces was your team time.
Yeah.
Right? So relating to business, that'd be your time on the ground. If you're company people facing company or people facing role,
Yeah.
you're out there, you're making sales, you're making deals, you're moving, having all the excitement happen. Then you move up in the ranks and you don't get to do that anymore.
Right.
So now you had to coach, mentor those under you to be successful, have them rise up. It's the same, from the military, the same way. For me, was, you enjoy the success of others, right? That's what you get your gratification from. Like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, I did this way. You do it that way. And as long as they're successful, then everything's going really well.
From meeting all these business owners now that you've been consulting for a while, where do you think their common weak point is that you can come in and solve? If there was something that the Green Beret has that they need, what is that thing, and how do you impart it to somebody?
The biggest challenge I've ran into with most companies is within the communication within their close cell there, where only time they're talking is in their board meeting,
Right.
or what's going on here, what's going on there, and not taking the time to step back and look at the big picture, and then also really understand those that you're working with, what drives them, what motivates them, how they work together. And that's what we bring from Special Forces. We understand each other, and that's how we were able to achieve and work at elite level, is because we knew each other's strengths and weaknesses and where to employ that to be successful. So going into business, sometimes you gotta slow down now so you can speed up later.
Right.
So take a step back. Everyone, oh, we're gonna lose money. We got to do this or that. Well, you can't get better if you don't slow down, take an introspection, try to make yourself better, learn new skills or new applications that can push your business to the next level. So that's where we come in with our experience of working throughout over 2 decades with multiple countries, at embassies, presidents of countries, of looking at their problems, help them solve their own challenges through what they have. And their biggest asset, I always tell folks, is your people.
Sounds kind of hard if you were to come in and be like, know all of Mark's strengths and weaknesses and how to communicate with him. What is the strategy for dissecting everyone on the team and getting everybody on that same page and that same level of understanding? What's the process and system that makes that happen?
In Special Forces days was how we went through all the same training. We had that common ground to reach back to. We ate breakfast together. We ate lunch together. We, did everything as a team. We succeeded as a team and failed as a team. Taking that to now and to business, the same thing. We take the time to step back and take a customized look at what that business's challenge is. Make it a point not to bring a theoretical problem like, hey, this theoretically could help you. No, we want to look at that company's actual challenge
Right.
and help them overcome that. One technique that we use, we use Neo personality inventory and the Hogan assessment to give some insight to how the people are. Then we use, dialogue between us and the decision maker to really understand what they're going through. And then through that insight, we develop the program to help them overcome whatever challenge they're facing.
Cool. So a lot of personality assessments, learning each core member's personality result, and then going into some specific problems and how to solve them.
Challenges. We don't say problems.
Challenges. Very good.
The reason I say that is because every time you say a problem, it's like a negative connotation, right?
Right.
You got kids and your kid comes up to you, hey, I got a problem. You're already like, oh my goodness, what'd you do? You crashed the car? What happened?
Right.
Or you come, hey, Dad, I got a challenge I'm trying to achieve. Like, you automatically want to help them, like, achieve that challenge.
Yeah, that's true. No, I love the language of like coaching and helping people improve. Challenge sounds like you're going to learn from it. You're going to get past it and you're going to get better from it. That's very good. What about ongoing communication strategies for companies? Once you sit down with your consulting group, we're able to do personality assessments on our entire team, kind of learn how everybody ticks. What kind of ongoing solutions can those companies put in place to keep open lines of communication that might be better than what they were doing before?
The big thing is ensure that you have some kind of line of communication, right? Especially
Slack.
Slack is one. I was about to say, that's a great example, right? One, not to over inundate them, right? You can have too much going on where there's so many different ways. You don't know which messaging system to use between all of them. But have that line where you have that common place to hit. Slack, Teams. We push a lot, and I was successful in the past of having what we call town halls, where you bring everyone together. We did it in my last, right before I got out. We do it at different levels. So us as the leadership team would have a town hall with the lowest level. None of their leaders were there.
Got it.
So they were comfortable enough to voice anything they thought we needed to know.
Their managers aren't there. So they're free to speak and
Free to speak how they are.
talk shit about their managers.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Then we had the same thing with middle management.
Town hall, all middle management.
And then senior management.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would focus on common themes. So we know you're going to get the he said, she said, somebody doesn't like somebody, got it. No big deal. However, if the lower, the middle, and the senior all said one thing, then we knew we had something we needed to address. I think you translate that to business as well. If you're going down and making sure you have touch points within your organization, be it yourself or somebody that you trust, to get those common themes where you can go and speak to those, get that real feedback.
So what is a town hall? Is that something that the company can conduct on their own? How often do they happen? And what is the structure?
I guess it could be however you want. I like doing it in person. So that would be, you get everyone in a common place. Better to be an offsite, right? Where everyone's more comfortable. Guards a little bit more let down.
Right.
And you just bring them in and you set the environment where they're willing to share what they're thinking. And so you can have a real insight to what you're looking at within your company.
So I'm sitting there at the C-suite and then we've got our whole ops team, maybe 30, 40 of them. Who's got something they want to talk about? And just like raise their hand. Is that kind of how they go?
You can. What we try to do, have some kind of event prior to, right? So do something fun together, right? Where you learn from each other.
Get them all boozed up.
Yeah, that's technique. Probably less successful, but never know. But then when you go into it, relate to them of how you see where the company's going. Give them the purpose that they're there. And like I said previously, make sure you're the leader that they feel comfortable enough to share those things with, where it's non-attributional. And I know it's a big, leap because everyone's scared to share, but
yeah,
one technique we use that I get people to talk is with, I don't know if you're familiar with Mentimeter.
No? Tell me, what is Mentimeter?
So Mentimeter is a piece of software where, you get your slide up there, you have the question. Normally you ask a question and no one answers.
Right.
No one wants to be that person. It allows them to answer on their cell phone. And then the answer non-attributed goes up to the screen. So then it'll start a conversation and it'll start everyone talking. And as everyone's answering, their answers are going to the screen.
So that's pretty effective. You get a lot more and more honest results when it's anonymous. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
And then the more bold people will, by the end of the day, get comfortable with like, well, I said that and this is why. and you get the real answer.
Right. Like some people like the credit and want to be the loud voice that's contributing.
Yeah.
Versus the quiet ones that will never, even though they do have a good thought or idea. I feel like that could be a really useful tool.
Yeah, we found many of our outings with the different companies. The quietest person usually has the biggest voice and the most to say.
Mm.
We
You
were
got to give them the tools to
we were
speak.
we were working with a company. It was going from third party distribution to direct to market, and they're in the last 6 months of their strategy. And they're trying to overcome something. The like junior marketer had the solution. He had never spoken in any of the meetings up to that point.
How did you get the solution out of him? Using something like this?
Using the Mentimeter and then the small group interactions,
Yeah.
presenting something bigger, and then iterating on it and giving him the confidence to present.
Any other quick tools and tactics that you guys recommend that any business could pick up and use? That's a good one.
I would say another thing is come together periodically throughout the year and just share what your vision is and your intent of where the company's going.
Yeah.
That's a big thing where it's lost, where you get so busy. You gotta make sure people understand where you're driving the ship.
Yeah. We try and do that once a quarter, but it's hard to stay on track, especially with the big picture. Everyone likes to zoom in on the little problems.
Yeah.
And spend a lot of time on those. So talk to me about Imperio Consulting. Like, what do you do for businesses? Is it veteran owned only? How do you guys operate?
No, it's not. We love to work with veteran-owned companies, of course, because we're all veterans.
Yeah.
Where we can help companies is where you come in, you want to take your company to the next level. You don't always have to be something negative. That's a connotation I've seen a lot of bringing in consultants.
Right.
That's negative.
There's a challenge.
There's
Let's
a
go.
challenge.
Consultant.
It also could be that you're performing at such a level that you want to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Or there is a challenge and you want to overcome it. So where we are at Imperio, we can come in, give you that outward look of somebody looking in, because you might not see something because you're looking at it every day.
Right.
And then taking our methodical process, what we call the Green Beret approach of breaking down your challenge, a way to look at it that's repeatable, and you can actually come up with a roadmap for it. How we do that is based on using psychological assessment, team event, right? Put some people under a little bit of stress,
Mm-hmm.
and then small group iterating on whatever your challenge is to come up with a solution. And then past that, we can offer follow up with one-on-one coaching, or coming back to iterate on to see what the results are and is it still going the way you want it to go.
It's a pretty cool call to action, right? You got a challenge, call the Green Berets. They'll come and implant like hundreds of years of strategy to fix it.
That's what say we're by with and through to help countries solve their problems, so we can
Right.
come to your company and work by with and through you to help you overcome your challenges.
Is there a specific challenge that you guys see over and over again? Like, what is the bread and butter? Is there something that you can come in and solve right away?
I've seen now, looking back, where we've had a lot of success is in times of change. When a company's went through a significant change, whether it was a merger and acquisition, or they just onboarded quite a few of new people.
Yeah.
In the integration piece, we've had a lot of success in coming in, help them understand what's going on and pull those together, make sure everyone feels included and know their new place and accept that company's their new place they're going to thrive at and go for it. So I would say definitely in times of change.
Yeah, change is the hardest thing as a business owner, especially when you have a big team and you're trying to push this change company wide. People don't like that very much. I wish we would have had you guys in our back pocket over the past few years. What does it look like to engage business with you guys? If someone's listening and wants to bring you on for a project, is it short term, long term, hourly? How does that work?
Well, we can work at whatever you want to work at. We have our set like 1-day engagement, 3-day, 7-day engagements. Or we can set up one that can go across a span of a year where you're engaging with us each quarter. We try to customize it to the client so they're getting what they need out of us. So it's not just cookie cutter. It's customized to what they're seeing.
Okay.
And the best way to reach out is through our website.
We'll link that down below as well. But what is like the one thing that you want people to know before leaving today? About yourself, about leadership, If you had to pick a message to leave everybody with, what is that?
I would say the biggest message is that we're just out here trying to help folks like we've been doing over the last 2 decades. We find fulfillment in helping others, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Oh, love the work you guys are doing. And for anyone who wants to follow Eric, Eric Brown, and it's in imperio-consulting.com.
Right.
And we'll link your links down below. I appreciate you coming in today. It's a blast.
Thank you, man. It was great. I appreciate it.
And thanks for sharing so much about the Green Beret. Super interesting.
Thank you so much.